How's everybody doing?
Yeah. Ready to get destroyed by a Russian.
It's been a lot of me today.
That's right.
You sick of me? You gotta see me Sunday. That's the worst.
Yates, I see you for 3 hours.
Yeah, we only have
every day.
It's in the first and in the five.
Alright. I should probably grab my scores. So talk to me about your preparation for this. Brandon, what recordings did you listen to?
Oh man, okay, so, I spent 2 weeks listening to Berlin, Chicago, San Francisco, and New York.
Berlin, Chicago.
San Francisco and New York.
Berlin with who?
Oh, you actually the trombonist or the conductor?
The conductor.
I couldn't.
Oh, that's important. Chicago with who? Well, how old in Berlin, I guess I should ask.
Chicago and New York were in the 60s or the 80s. Berlin was maybe the 70s.
Okay.
San Francisco was definitely the 2000s. I think it was closer to 2010.
Like Michael Tilson Thomas or something?
Something like that.
Cool. Okay. What were the differences between, let's just pick two, like, what are the differences between Chicago and the San Francisco recording?
Chicago was a lot slower. I felt their sound was a bit.
Oh, watch yourself. No,
I don't know, like a bit bigger. I don't know. They
Yeah.
felt more. They had more presence. And San Francisco, I don't know. It felt more refined. I don't know.
More what?
More like refined. And but
Yeah.
not refined in that sense of the term. Just like
Clean articulation. and
maybe
stuff.
it could also be the recording. I mean,
It's recording quality.
yeah.
That Chicago sound from like the 60s through the early 90s is very like robust.
Yes, that's a good.
I mean, that's the sound I grew up on. But I think it's also because my parents had kind of a crummy stereo system when I was a kid, and so those Chicago recordings you could actually hear the brass parts. And the Cincinnati recordings you could not, not on their stereo. Okay, that's good to know. So they're different. Good. Okay, Kristen, what recordings did you use?
For track 4, I listened to Berlin, New York, I think London, and Chicago.
Okay. So, tell us about the New York and the London recordings.
Yeah, so, I think that there were a lot of similarities between like the London performance and the Berlin performance, and maybe that's just because it's like European orchestra. But I think my personal favorite was probably, out of the two of them, probably New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
What
think
were the
it's,
differences between New York and London?
I don't know if I can really go into specifics about that. I think I just like the sound from the brass section better on New York. I thought they sounded stronger. I don't know if that's the right word, but I thought it sounded like a more full sound. And I thought it sounded like a bit more intense, more like canon Tchaikovsky.
Okay. Would you say that which sound would you say was darker or brighter? Like, can you contrast in terms of tone color, especially the brass sections?
I want to say the London one was brighter.
Okay. Was that bothersome or just fact?
No, it was just a different
Uh-huh.
interpretation.
Okay. Okay. You know, all these orchestras have really big differences, depending on the time period too. I mean, like what Brandon's saying, like Chicago from the 80s is totally different than San Francisco from the 2000s. Like, totally different concept, totally different awareness of historical presence and all that stuff. So, you know, it's okay to find these. It's good to find these differences, and it's good to have your favorites. My favorite things in orchestral playing are typically things that are not actually historically accurate or prevalent, right? Like, I just like a big low brass sound. I like to be able to go to the symphony, hear that. and I get really irritated. Like I remember paying a bunch of money to go hear the Prague Radio Orchestra, and just being like super ticked off that I think they played Tchaikovsky, maybe 5, maybe 4. And it was like you just couldn't hear them. They were right there. It was not a huge hall. It was probably the size of our hall, and flat seating, as is kind of traditional. But I could hardly hear trombone the whole time. It was super disappointing, right? So maybe it was accurate, or maybe that's the way they really wanted to play it, but I didn't like it. I was bummed out about that train ticket and that ticket cost. Todd, what did you listen to?
So I took a little bit more of a purist approach, and I actually listened to the Russian Nationalist Orchestra.
Interesting. I was wondering if somebody listened to a Russian orchestra.
And it was intense. I mean, in a good way.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting. I remember you were talking about sometimes the style of playing is different than what we would normally think of as good or normal.
Were there any super loud trumpets with
yeah,
super duper wide vibrato?
A little bit. Not I think as much as you were saying, but yeah, I thought it was interesting just to listen to how a Russian orchestra would play a Russian composer.
Yeah.
So it was good. I really liked the depth of it. It was a little bit brassy at times, but I mean I think that kind of goes with the territory.
Yeah. Who else did you listen to? Who were you kind of comparing or contrasting with?
So I only listened to that one recording, but I did listen to the whole thing, and it was pretty great.
Yeah, cool. I would say try to take that recording and find a St. Petersburg recording or the Moscow Radio Orchestra. There's lots of different orchestras within Russia, and see if you can't find differences within those orchestras too, because there are these interesting differences within. So you guys are next, but I'll leave you off the hook for now. The other question is, when you got your score, when you downloaded your score, did you notice on IMSLP that there's 2 different versions of the full score? No, just the one.
I just grabbed one.
Yeah, there's 2 different versions, and there's actually both of those versions have different. I'm pretty sure there were last year when I did research for this. And the different versions have different editing markings. So there's different dynamics in some of this stuff, which is interesting. And I don't know a lot about it other than one was a published score and one was a not so published score, but I don't really understand what the history is on that. I just didn't know if anybody had noticed that. You checking it, Jonas?
No, I'm looking something else up.
Okay. Maybe Jonas has insights, that's all. I'm not calling you out, sorry. Maybe not, well, okay, I'll call
I could
you.
check. I do have one of the scores up.
Okay. I just thought that was interesting. It doesn't really mean much. It's just, sometimes you're dealing with a part that's published in one way, and then your conductor's dealing with a mini score or an older score or a newer score than you're dealing with, and there's different stuff in there, and they expect you to do the same stuff that's on their score, but it's not in your part. That happens quite a bit.
Yeah, that was kind of the issue, because I was just playing out of the Doug Yo book, and it just didn't have the full. I mean, of course, it doesn't have the full piece because it's just excerpts.
Right.
But they were playing off of the full piece, and the cut that you wanted was not in that book. So
Right.
I know I went to brass excerpts and just have the whole all 4 parts, the whole thing. I think that's what Kristen did as well.
Yeah. I often just, download the whole part. I mean, then you've got it. And if you ever get called to play Chike 4, you can play off the part that you already made markings on. I don't know. I'm playing off the parts that I printed in 2003, 2. And then there's different pencils for different conductors, different colored pencils. Breathe here, don't breathe here, all that stuff. I thought it'd make an interesting book someday, but I don't think so. It's not actually as interesting as I thought.
Define interest.
Right, yeah. This would be a really expensive book for people to buy for their orchestral rep class that they wouldn't care about. All right, cool. Let's hear it. let's hear the first excerpt I gave you. What did
Question. So, at the beginning, Todd comes in before all of us, so
Right.
he cue it in, or would I still cue it in?
Oh, Tal will cue it in. Yeah.
That's what we're finding.
Alrighty. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Try again. We got off already.
Yeah.
Can you do it without counting? Just breathe and play.
Yeah.
Everybody knows where it comes in?
Yep. Written down.
Bum, 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 yum. I don't think you ever want to play repeated quarter notes, repeated anything, the same dynamic all the way through. Dynamic crescendo, or you could just intensify. It's up to you, and your conductor may have some notes on that. And the other thing is, watch out. Typically, when the trumpets come in, da, 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 jump. They're going to be just a little bit late on the digga-da-da-da, right? This is traditionally how they play this, so watch out for your jump. Not that I want you to play it out of time right now, but just something to be aware of. One more time at the beginning. Get a little bit more confident, Brandon. You're playing like you're not sure. You're
Am
sure.
I?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
You're sure. You know what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's place. I like that. Let's go to the next entrance. Yeah, so I thought Kristen did a really nice job of driving 102 to 103. Bum bum, jump dun, ding dong, yan dun dun, right? But again, that's a repeated function. I think you can do that. That's cool. We're not quite getting our triple feel. Right? Let's try that again at D. We won't do the whole thing, but oops, I just did it wrong. Sorry. Don't listen to me. That make sense? Cool. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Cool. Jonas, comments?
On the little hemiola figure, da 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 da. It sounds like Todd is jumping it just a little bit. It sounds almost duply. It's just keep the da 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 in your head all the time.
sounds.
I've had to stop using like the mid, because I'm getting annoyed by it.
Yep.
I just use warnings now.
Yeah, the last couple bars, the crescendo, very good.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Cool. Let's do the next entrance. What do they give you?
H of the
In the
finale.
finale.
Oh yeah.
Finale.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. I agree on that.
That's the good stuff right there.
Ready? Sorry. Okay, question before we start. So this last section has kind of a cut time feel. Would I give a cut time cube or would I give a full time cube? I mean, it's written in comic time, but it
It depends on the conductor. Every conductor I've ever played this with did it in two.
that's what I thought.
And then they go like this, and you're like, I don't know which way you want me to follow. Right? Or like I have one that used to do this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah, I would think about it in two at least.
Okay. I'll give y'all a cut time.
Okay, cool. Let's see if we can't get the front to really line up with each other right now. Right? Let's sizzle it. On the horn. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now play it like that. That might be too fast. The eighth notes are dragging. Dun 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 dun.
Because we were rushing at the beginning of it, so I think I was trying to pull it back, which is why
It sounds very circusy.
it is very
It
serious.
Yeehaw. Okay. Oh no, not rodeo. Circus.
Yeah, when we get like movements like
What circus have you been to?
Can't say I've ever been to a circus. I've never played a
look
circus
at you
gig.
being ethical.
I have played rodeo gigs, but I have not played circus gigs. Maybe just a little more stately. Yeah, I just sizzle it too fast. Kristen, I thought your balance was really good until we got to like 280 or 284 or somewhere in there, and then I started to lose you.
Okay.
So just watch out for that. As they increase in dynamic, you're gonna have to increase as well. Yeah. Alex, comments?
When I walked in, yes, the balance was pretty good until later on in the end. I would say y'all two are probably furthest apart in time wise.
Mm-hmm.
The bass and the lead. I'd say y'all would try and listen across more, like down and up, just for time.
Did you say dragging or rushing?
A little bit of
Probably
both.
one of us is doing one
Yeah.
is doing the other.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Which one's in?
I
I'm just
just
asking
y'all
so that we
decide.
know what to.
I'm not really sure. I just know y'all weren't together.
You might be rushing a little bit.
I felt like I was dragging. So I
Cause
was
I feel.
trying. I probably was rushing because I was trying to like be on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say for sure, but I felt like I heard you like coming early a few times, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
It could be the opposite. But
I can't say that at 268 you came in early, Todd, but I think that was just coming off the offbeat. B D D D D D D D D da 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 dee da. Is that right? So we're gonna clean that up for sure. And we'll see if we can't take care of some of these time issues. I agree, Alex. It's just you're spread out.
I
You
feel it has a tendency to rush with all like the rest at the resting portions when you're like dun, dun.
So in your recordings, what happened with the tempo? Did it change there, or was it just totally straightforward, solid?
And it seemed to.
Sometimes it felt like it was going faster, but I think
Yeah.
that the
I feel
music
like
implies.
it almost implies musically to go faster.
I think people push it. I mean, I feel like conductors typically push that, and you can push that too if you want. I mean, you don't have to keep it totally consistent, but you have to decide that.
Just don't rush so fast then.
Can we try that 263? 263? Let's just do ba da dee da dee da da da. I'll clap. We can do that better. And then, hey Todd, when you get that little ba dee da da dee da thing on your own, you're doubling what instrument? I just gave it away. You're doubling the tuba in octave, right?
Okay.
So your job is just be the articulation for the tuba. So you can just or you can spin it out there.
And how'd you give that away?
Well, I said, what are you doubling? Nobody else is playing in the room, so.
Well, you could have been with something else in the
It
orchestra.
was
Like-
really,
like-
it was
like
real,
doubling the oboe.
it was really obvious in my head, okay.
He's doubling.
No trick, I said out loud. Okay. So we're going. Da dee da dee da.
Hold on, where did we start?
We're
Sorry,
starting at
266. 266.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay. Did I screw it up?
Didn't sound like it.
I think it's coming from the breath.
I think so too. Do it without a breath. So you're just gonna go ba dee da dee da dee da dee da dee 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 dee, and then the fiddle will stop. No breath.
I think it's just because it's a bunch of offbeats in a row. It just
So do you guys like not play on beat one? At that
Correct.
bar?
Definitely had to be
It
have
is.
the whole
I
thing.
They're tied into it.
you guys play that little thing first on that.
On 266?
is they have
Oh, 266. Yeah, they're coming on the end.
yeah.
They're coming in on the end.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought, cause like I've definitely got that D sharp on beat one, so.
I guess you should get that key then.
Was that early?
That's early.
Early. Okay, that's what I thought. But I was playing it before and we kept doing it over and over, so I changed something.
Let's just do 1, 2, ja da da da, just for kicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now let's break it. No, I don't want to break that up.
We can.
66.
Yeah, definitely can.
266. Sorry, that's crappy. There we go. Tie.
Oh shit.
They arrive better, but it feels like in 267 they're trying to
They're trying to
move
alter
time
it, yeah.
back to go on the on beat.
Right. That's hard.
Yeah.
I don't hear
Mate, what if
You're so in 267, you're actually pushing your offbeat back so that it's on the beat.
Can we do it again?
what if they try and just do the attack, so that instead of sustaining for 2/8.
Yeah, let's bop it.
I was actually gonna say that maybe if we put space in between all those,
Yeah,
instead of like playing it connected.
Yeah, so just bop it.
Well, no, like
Dot,
in
beat,
in
dot.
context, would there be space in between all that? So
No.
instead of like bum 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 bum.
No, you
bum,
would want
bum,
totally.
bum.
You'd want full value there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You're supporting the cellos and the basses there. So. Yes.
Do you find it hard to come in? Do you find it hard to find where the downbeat is when you first start?
I can't hear them, but I mean we have
Can you see
a
his cue?
metronome. I'm not looking. We have a metronome.
No, but I mean, like, for this exercise, now, can you see his cue?
I wasn't looking for excuses. I don't.
How are you gonna come in?
We have a moment. Bum 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 bum.
Okay.
I think you should look for top.
I get what you're saying, but
No, the reason I said that is because I couldn't tell your cue. That's what I was saying. I was kind of going over that. I
Okay.
think you worried too much about going 1, 2, 3, and then less about the motion of your cue. You're
Yeah.
not really moving. I couldn't notice it, and I
Okay.
thought that was just giving them trouble. So I tried.
Okay. I will be more obvious in that.
No metronome. Yep.
yes, let's do that. Before I get cold.
A little slower. 2, 1, 2, 3, hit.
Man, we got
Did I
right
do
off
that?
the beat.
I don't
No.
It's definitely not you.
I can't say. I don't remember if it was one. It was either you or her.
I know I ended on the beat. I don't know where I got.
Everybody kind of ended on the beat, like
Yeah.
by the second bar. Let's do it slow.
You're
1,
lazy.
2, 3, and 4, and 1. Ba, 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 ba.
Dragon.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay with the bumps. Who's saying bump?
1, 2, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and
No.
take your downbeat out too.
Okay.
2, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. I think I adjusted a little. That's how you practice this. Let's do the subdivisions, the 8 notes. So you're gonna go 2, 3, 4, dot 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 dee dot dot dee dot. 2, 3, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. Yeah, that's how you practice it. I would recommend that everybody just. This is a good exercise. This is a great excerpt to practice this on. Maybe over the weekend, just practice your rhythmic studies that way. You know, can I do this? How long can I do this for? And then practice bopping, practice with the subdivision, and then see if you can practice with the full length note. How long? How many? How many bars can you go playing an offbeat without reverting it to an onbeat? It's a great question.
Clearly we can go 2.5.
Right now you're making it to about 3 beats, so it's hard. It's not easy, but you can do it and you can practice it. Questions? Questions on this excerpt? Anything else you guys want to comment on? Swap. Thank you.
You gotta stand up and sit back down.
I apologize for my comments on nutmeg.
He doesn't want to cut it out later.
What about that's no,
My freshman roommate was a mess.
A lot of freshmen were
I feel like freshmen in general are just collective messes.
Derek was a problem child.
oh well. I'm just
Who knows where Derek is?
Go on your find
Works
He's the CEO of the United States.
The same kid that thought a good hiding place for his handle was under his desk.
I mean, mine's on the table, so.
You're of age, aren't you?
Oh yeah, mine is in my
There it is.
alcohol cabinet.
But we can't have it on campus anyway.
You can't have alcohol in your dorm room if you're of age.
No.
Interesting. She really okay. First excerpt? But first, let's talk. What recordings did you listen to?
I mostly listened to the ones on TromboneExcerpts.org. There was one that was a 1930s Berlin fill with Karajan.
Yeah.
There was a mid to late 20th century Boston Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, cool.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
And for following with the score, I listened to a 2010. It's a ballet theater. Starts with an M. Some Russian ballet theater orchestra. 2010.
Oh, starts with an M.
Yeah, like
What was in Bolshoi? Well, what'd you think of that recording? The Russian ballet theater.
I didn't really listen to compare between the three. I mostly listened to inform how Tchaikovsky wrote the piece and what, like, when I listened to all of them for the first excerpt, my brain said, he's just writing brass like an organ. That's basically it. Long, sustained notes.
Who did Tchaikovsky study with?
Do not know.
Nobody knows. Homework while you're listening to them, and then you guys can write in the time you want. Who did Tchaikovsky study with?
He didn't. He went to some conservatory, right? It wasn't in Russia.
Look it up.
It's on Wikipedia.
I'll come back to you.
It's like the
I'll come
first
back to
thing.
you.
It's like the first thing.
So those sound like a pretty good variety. Kristen, what groups did you listen to for this one?
I listened to Berlin again. I listened to one, I believe from France. I forgot the name of it. It wasn't Paris, but
Okay.
and then I listened to Chicago and I think Milwaukee.
Oh, cool. That's a new recording. That's like
Yeah, it was
2017. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool when they did that. That was right before they like renovated their hall and they spent a bunch of time setting up for that. That was cool.
Yeah.
I think Matthew Walker's on that recording actually. I think it was before they hired their new bass trombonist.
Pretty sure.
Probably
I
didn't
would not be
say.
able to tell you for sure.
That's the bummer about all these recordings. It doesn't say who the personnel are.
Right.
Anyway, he's gonna. I don't think I told you guys this, and I should tell you real quick. Matthew Walker's gonna come in March and give a master class via Zoom. So actually, on those days that I was having the GAs, I'll do something on a separate day. I'm gonna double two of you up. You can hash that out, but less work for somebody. What'd you listen to, Alex?
So I had the Berlin one. And then there was,
There's more than one Berlin recording of this. Which
this one was like mid-century. I think it was like 50s or 60s.
Okay.
And then, I can't remember if it was Detroit or Boston.
So watch out that diminuendo on those descending lines. They have a tendency to want to come back tempo-wise. We don't want to drive those forward probably for the most part. So I'd say watch out for that. And then I would just say like nobody was ready for the transfer from the half note to the quarter note subdivision essentially. Like all three of you were like, "Wah!" Right? So let's say that again. Also, watch out for this quarter note pickup, right? Even though it's tied into the downbeat, then we need to make sure that we've got that half note right there. So Jonas is giving you a good breath. Just make sure that you're using that information and applying it to what you're actually doing. One more time. Sorry. No, you're all ready. This is kind of a point of contention often. There's this poco a poco crescendo that's like 208 or something like that, right? To a mezzo piano or a mezzo forte. And then you got this poco crescendo that eventually turns into a written crescendo in an L. Okay? In all of Tchaikovsky's work, there's this thing that he does where he says poco crescendo, and then a couple bars later he actually writes the crescendo. He's actually looking for a very specific stylistic point here where you are crescendoing, but you suddenly kind of balloon the crescendo. Okay. Now we talk about not ballooning notes, but you definitely want to kind of balloon the crescendo. So the crescendo is suddenly going to be from very gradual. Maybe you're going to go from what is it there? Your mezzo forte to
go up a dynamic marking in like 3 bars.
Right, but then you're going to go up like maybe to fortissimo, right? It's going to be very extreme into L. And the reason he's doing that is because he's including percussion in that section. So he's kind of micromanaging the balance there, but that's what he's going for. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's try it again. Don't lose the subdivision. More information about Jack?
Yes, he was taught music theory and studied harmony and counterpoint with Nikolai Zaremba at the Mikhailovsky Palace, which was the conservatory before the conservatory. He was part of its premier class.
And he studied his instrumentation and composition with Anton Rubinstein.
Correct.
Who the hell is Rubinstein?
Tchaikovsky's teacher.
Who is that? Does that name ring any bells?
It sounds familiar.
Isn't he a pianist?
He's a pianist.
Yeah. And then he
He's
did
got a
stuff in the
composer.
US.
Did a lot of stuff in the US. Why did he move to the US?
Communist.
Close. Fascist. Opposite.
Very.
Rubinstein, he was Jewish.
Huh?
Persecuted.
Come on, with a name like Rubinstein.
It's in Russian, right?
A name like Tchaikovsky.
Eastern Russian Jew. So he fled. And so he actually, this concept of him having a lot of Western influence is pretty accurate. But it wasn't necessarily Western. It wasn't like he came to the US and studied and then went back to Russia, right?
Yeah.
But the people that he was studying with had studied in the US or they had studied in Europe. He also did go to Paris and do some work there, but that was later. Right, so that's not necessarily part of his education. So you find that he really changes his style in many different ways at different points during the Soviet Union's history, depending on what he's trying to fit in with. He's actually very malleable, which is kind of cool. Let's do the next entrance, the next answer. Thanks, guys.
He also really liked Beethoven, so
Yeah, he's
wanna
big.
keep that.
Let's start that again.
At you.